Imagine if the fairy tale Cinderella was turned into a horror movie but told through the perspective of Cinderella's stepsister. That's the idea behind the new horror movie The Ugly Stepsister, and it's one of my favorites this year, so I need to tell you about it. This movie looks like a period piece but feels like a twisted fairy tale. Elvira is obsessed with the prince and is willing to do whatever it takes to get his attention. But when her mother remarries and she meets her new stepsister, who in the movie we'll all recognize as Cinderella, Elvira sees a girl who's so much more beautiful than she is, and in her mind is everything that she could never be. So when they're both invited to the prince's ball where he'll find his new bride, Elvira goes to the extreme to outshine her stepsister. And that's where, for all my body horror fans, that's where the body horror begins. Nose jobs, eyelash extensions, and very controversial ways of losing weight. Straight out of your worst nightmares. The Ugly Stepsister is the period piece sibling rivalry version of The Substance. It was bold, exciting, and gross in a way that will literally make your skin crawl. At the same time though, there were some scenes that I genuinely found pretty funny. The dark humor was perfectly placed in my opinion and didn't take you out of the horror at all. Even though there was humor in this, you never forget that you're watching a horror movie. I don't say this often, and in fact, I don't think I've said this ever, but there was a scene in this movie where I needed to look away. It kind of is a personal phobia though. The Ugly Stepsister as a directional debut is incredible. And I think a lot of you will understand what I mean when I say that you can really tell, you can feel that it was directed by a woman. At its core, it's a movie about the dark side of girlhood, and I'll always love that because I'll always relate to that. Being driven insane by the pursuit of beauty is something that transcends eras, but this movie just takes it to a whole new level. If you didn't know, the original fairy tale of Cinderella by the Grimm brothers is actually kind of a horror story. It involves a stepsister cutting off a chunk of their feet to fit into Cinderella's shoe. So I appreciated how this movie referenced the horror version of the fairy tale instead of the version that we probably all heard growing up. Last year was great for horror. We had Nosferatu, The Substance, Heretic, but I would say this year is also starting off pretty strong. And obviously it's too early to decide my top 10 horror movies of 2025, but I wouldn't be surprised if The Ugly Stepsister made it to the list. I'm hoping I can watch it again this time in theaters since I was sent a screener. If you've seen the movie, let me know your thoughts, and also let me know what other fairy tales you think would make really good horror movies, and don't forget to follow for more.